Hello, good morning.
Morning. Thanks.
How are you doing today?
Cool, I'm good. I
Good
really
to see you.
appreciate your time.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Are we good to go?
Yes, we are.
All right. Era Africa is an initiative to find, solution to challenges in that is affecting career development. I mean, generally potential development in low-income and underserved community, as you might testify. So what we're trying to do is to see how we can motivate and inspire all these teenagers out there to take a good decision to achieve a career success for themselves. Now, we have about 3 programs. We have an annual conference. We normally do that in commemoration with the World Computer Literacy Day. And then the other program, we call it Digital Skill and Orientation for all the students in secondary school, go to schools and do that. But when COVID-19 struck, we cannot continue with that for now. Then this very program, Project TIMS, which means This Is My Story, we've been doing it live before. We call people to our communities and organize events for teenagers. Then we talk to them, inspire them, and then give them mentoring for that. But because of COVID-19, although the virtual is part of the program initially, but the live is what we really focus on. But thank God for COVID-19, we have to use the virtual to get across to wide people to share their career story with us, and then some motivations and then experience they have in the journey so far. And that is why we need you as well, and that's why we are here today. So what we want from you now is to share your career story with us. Then we'll be able to ask few questions in respect of challenges and, of course, how you maneuver to achieve the little, let me call it that way, that you are able to achieve now. So over to you now.
Okay, thank you very much for inviting me here. Actually, it's a good thing because as much as I can, I try to, encourage the upcoming ones, about career when I get to sit with them. And I get to learn also from, people that are above me, the challenges and how they were able to overcome, because, I'm still learning. So it's actually a very good opportunity for me to be here, to give, as much as I can to our audience. So thank you very much for bringing me in on this program. I really appreciate that.
You're welcome. I really appreciate it.
Well, my career story, well, it's still building, so it's not a history yet.
Exactly.
So basically, I started my career in 2003. That's about 17 years ago. When I say career in this context now, I mean my working experience, so to speak, because usually your career starts from the moment you were born. Okay, that's where you start building it up until the moment that you die. That's your career is your entire life. That's why you see a lot of people, they say they started singing when they were 2-year-old, 3-year-old, and they went into being an artist and all of that, and they are making waves. So your career actually starts from the moment you were born. For instance, the kids that I have right now, I already have an idea as to what they will eventually do. I might not be right, so somewhere along the line they could change, based on so many other parameters or environmental factors. But right now, I know where their interests, lie. So I'm beginning to more or less have a sense of where their career would go. That's not to say that I will now have to shape it. They still have the opportunity to do it, but at least I have an idea, and I kind of begin to nurture them in that line. So my professional career actually started in 2003, basically after my first degree. I actually got a job somewhere on the island, in Ikoyi to be precise, as a sales executive. Um, then, I was working with two white men. One was a Briton. Uh, he's a Briton because he's still alive, and the other one is a Frenchman. It was actually a very interesting period for me because, that was my first experience. I never knew, all those things that you were taught in school, how to write business letters, how to approach customers and all of that. I didn't know how to put them into practice. So that was my first time out. So it's just about 4 months because the company actually had, some issues and they had to more or less fold up. I worked there for about 4 months as a sales executive. But, as a sales executive, I was also the purchasing executive, so this company actually deals in buying and reselling. So we buy drinks, toiletries, some exotic drinks and all of that. That's, we buy them from the market and then put a margin on it and then sell to hotels, bars, restaurants, embassies on the island and so on and so forth. So that actually gave me an insight into how to run businesses. Okay, so we could sit down and say, okay, we bought this amount, and we are going to mark it up by 10%. Okay, this one is a luxury item. We are going to mark it up by 20%. So that gave me a very good understanding how to, do that. And so eventually, when the company folded up, I had to go back home. There was no job. And fortunately for me, I got to know that, a telecoms company actually was recruiting for call center agents. So I put in my application. I wasn't expecting anything serious to come out of it because I was just done with first degree. So I hadn't gone for service or anything. I just, I couldn't use my BSc. So I used OND because I actually did OND. I studied public administration in Kwara State Polytechnic. So I used my OND to go in there. Then it was easy. They were still accepting OND for such jobs. So I took it up. Eventually, I was called, and I got a job. I started working as a call center executive in MTN back then. Wow. I did that for about 2 years and 2 months. So I got promoted to the position of a workforce management analyst. Now, as a workforce management analyst, my unit was in charge of, the management of the entire call center. We do their schedules, who is going to work when. We do a lot of forecasting, a lot of business analysis, a lot of data analysis. And, it's just a whole bunch of work in that department, because I actually, we will talk about the challenges and all of that. I actually had some challenges, working at that department. But eventually, after about a year, I got promoted again to the position of a business analyst. I was a business analyst in the customer experience and, customer experience management unit of MTN then. So I was there. I worked about 6 months, and then I moved again, to the sales department. So I was a business analyst for the project office in the sales and distribution department of MTN Nigeria. Yeah. And so I worked there for a couple of months, and that was when I got a job, more or less to cross from MTN to the then Etisalat. So I moved to Etisalat as a resource planning and reporting, specialist. and I was there. That was in 2008. I was there for 6 years. That was a very, it was a challenging period in my career because I was used to moving. After 1 year, after 2 years maximum, I want to move into something else. But I was on this role for 6 years. And yes. But fortunately for me, I had to, do some preparations. I'm just giving a summary, so we're still going to go into a couple of other things later. I had to. So 6 years, it was tough. It was, let me use the word boring at a point, because when you do something for 6 years, even when they wake you up in the middle of the night, you can tell them what to do. You don't have to think about it.
Exactly.
So I wanted to do something else. It took me a while, but fortunately for me, I was able to. So I moved back to the sales department after 6 years. That was in 2014, and I was promoted. It was a very good promotion for me because it took me out of Lagos. All this while that I've been talking about the career and all of that, I've been in Lagos. So this one took me out of Lagos, took me to Ondo State, where I was the territory retail sales manager for Southwest 2. That's Ondo, Ekiti, and Kwara State. So my job then was majorly for retail sales, the shops, the centers, and so on and so forth. But eventually, that was when I moved to Ondo State, Akure to be precise. And eventually, the business had to do some reorganization. So I was so the retail sales department and the wholesale department were merged. So the nomenclature was changed from territory sales manager to regional sales manager. So I was overseeing Ondo, Ekiti, and Kwara. And at a point, Kwara was moved away from my territory and Ogun State was added. So it was Ondo, Ekiti, and Ogun State. So I did that for a couple of years. That's from 2014 to 2018, when I got another offer, from the CEO of CAS 45 Nigeria. I'm sure you know CAS 45.
Yes.
So I moved to CAS 45 in August 2018 as the head of region for Lagos and Southwest. So, but principally Lagos was the major hub then in Southwest. So we were making some plans to move into other states of the Southwest and all of that. But eventually I had to leave, after about 3 months or thereabout, I had to leave. So I, left CAS 45. That was in November 2018. And in January 2019, that's about 2 months apart, I joined Globacom Nigeria as a sales manager. So I'm currently in Globacom Nigeria. I currently work with Globacom Nigeria. I was in Ondo State, but recently I've been moved, transferred to Edo State. So that's where I work currently. Wow. So that's more or less like the brief of my, professional career.
That's straightforward. I love that. Now, this is the moment we are waiting for. Now, like you also said earlier, there are challenges. There are times that is tough. Now, I want you to share those periods with us, and how did you maneuver to overcome those challenges and keep moving forward? Maybe
okay,
one or two of those challenges and how you overcome them.
Okay, so first one that I would like to mention is actually the one that I mentioned earlier, which was stagnancy. So there will be a time in your career that it looks like you're stagnant. You're not making any move. You're not being promoted. You're not being remunerated properly as you would love to have it. So sometimes you might be on the same role, and maybe every year there's maybe like a 10%, 20% increase in your salary, or maybe they will change the nomenclature. For instance, maybe you were sales manager at a point, and after a while they change you to senior sales manager, that kind of a thing. And maybe after a while they change you to I don't know, most senior sales manager. But it wasn't the case for me. Some people will say 6 years is not a long time to really complain about stagnancy, but it depends on who you are. So for me, 6 years was a long time. Some people have been on jobs, on the particular role for probably 12 years, 10 years, and it's still, for them, it's like, well, I mean, it's normal as long as I'm earning my salary. But for me, it wasn't easy. I was doing the same thing over and again every morning. And you close, you go home, and then you come back, it's the same thing. And you were doing that for, 5, 6 Decembers. That's a whole lot for me. I was used to moving after about a year or two max. So the challenge was very heavy then. I had to, now it was difficult to understand by people around you, because for as long as you are performing and they see you as somebody who can deliver, you probably will be contented with that and say, okay, well, at least I'm doing the best that I can. But for me, it wasn't acceptable. So there were things that I did back then. At first, after about 4.5 years on that role, I was a resource planning and reporting specialist in the then Etisalat. After about 4 years on that role, I started thinking about how to divert my attention from the rigors of the job. So now, there is one thing that you need to understand, when you have stagnancy in your career. The problem will come or will become more when you think about the job every time, or when you think about the stagnancy, the fact that you are not moving, you're not progressing. It will wear you down more, and then you will have to do a lot to overcome it. So the best and the fastest way to get out of it is to take your mind off it. It's difficult, it's tough, but you have to be conscious about it. So what I did was simple. For a lot of people, it might not work, okay? But for me, this is what worked. And it's quite funny, when I think about it, but it worked. So I told myself, I said, well, guy, you know what? You have to change your thinking. You need to invest some of your time in some other things. So I did two things, basically. I've always been, maybe like, you can call me a motivational speaker or a presenter or an MC. I do all of that. So I speak. So what I did was simple. I started, picking up some jobs. I will go for birthdays on weekends, do MC at birthdays, at weddings, at school events, and so on. Now, what that did for me was, Monday to Friday, I thought about the job, but over the weekend, my mind was on something else. Okay? So when I'm going back to work on Monday, it's just about the job. There was nothing, more over the weekend. I had my family. So by Saturday morning, I'm off to a place, do MC for them, come back, you're tired already, go to bed. On Sunday, you go to church, I probably have one or two other things to do. Then the second thing that I did, growing up, my mother used to be, a very homely woman, so we used to have cages at the back of the house for chickens. And I grew up knowing that. So what I did was also simple. I built a cage. I built a cage behind my house, and I started, rearing chickens. I had about 20 of them. So now the thing is, when I'm going to the office in the morning, I make sure I see them, feed them, give them water. While doing that, my mind was off work. Now, when I get back to the house in the evening, I go back there. I check them, I see what's happening and all of that. I see how best I can do the cage to make them more comfortable and so on. So I was practically moving my mind away from the rigors and the stagnancy and all of that. Now, what that did for me was that it gave me an opportunity to be able to open my mind to some other things. So it wasn't just about, no, so I've been on this job for, some people will take into drinking. They drink to stupor. Some people will take into, doing shabby work. You get to the office, you are tired, you're no longer there. So whatever it is you are asked to do, you just do it shabbily and you leave. I didn't go through all of that. I just made sure that during the time that I'm at work, I do the job. But when I'm off work, I engage in some other things. That took a whole lot off my neck. So that was one major period. And then the other thing that I did was I found a mentor. Now, a lot of people go through career life, you go through the whole hog and you never had anyone that you could talk to, someone who sees you away from yourself. So I looked for a mentor. I was always talking to him. He happened to be a boss, boss. He's a boss to my boss. He was a boss to my boss then. I found him and I was always talking to him about my moves, things that I want to do, the next role that I'm thinking of. And he was the one who actually told me, Sheon, do you think you can cross from customer care to sales and be promoted there? I mean, like, you are not making a lateral move. You are making an upward move in another department. That was tough because there are people in that sales department that have been there for years who also wants to, grow. So how do you want to come from a different department and be promoted to a higher role in another department? I told him it wasn't going to be possible, that it was going to be tough. But he told me you could do it. He said, "God, you can do this. This is what you need to do." He gave me some tips. I followed them, and that was, the breakthrough. Less than a year, I moved to another department, which was the sales department, and I was promoted. I moved from level 15 to level 17 in another department. So, that worked for me. So that was a period in my life that I will never forget, so to speak. Then the other challenge that I had then was when I moved to CAS 45. I had very high hopes. I wanted to make a difference, and all of that. But unfortunately, I couldn't really blend with the environment. For me, the environment was not a very good environment for someone like me to thrive. So I had some hiccups. And how did I get out of it? I quit.
Wow.
Sometimes you need to just quit. There is no other way. You can't go forward. You are not making any impact because of things around you. You're not. It's just you just have to quit. It might be difficult. In fact, but at the time I left, in my mind, I left in November. January was going to be, resumption of schools, payment of school fees and all of that. I didn't know where all of that was going to come from. But I knew that if I'd continued, I wouldn't have given my best. So I left. It took me 2 months to get another job, but I was able to get it anyway. So if you are not sure of yourself that you're going to get something else, please don't quit, except you have a side business that you've developed over time and you want to move into. But if you're sure, you know your worth, you know what you can do, you know the connections that you have that will probably get you something, you know the things around you that could turn your tide, then, you know, you just have to quit. It keeps you sane. It might be tough at the time that you let the job, but eventually you'll get yourself together. So that was what I did. I quit, you know. So those 2 times were a very challenging period in my career, which has spanned over 17 years now. But at least somehow I was able to wriggle out of that. Now, the other thing that I did during those 2 times, you don't stop learning. Okay, you don't stop learning. I don't know, maybe we're still going to go into some lessons that I've learned over the period of so these were challenging periods, you know, that I've mentioned. But I have quite a number of lessons that I've learned so far, you know, over all these times that are, you know, the years that I've worked. And I would really like to share those ones also.
All right. That is straightforward as well. In summary, you let us know that when you are in a boring situation on a job, you find something to complement those periods in order to take your mind out of those unnecessary boring activity. And secondly, you need a good mentor who can put you through some things you don't understand and how to move forward. And when you find yourself in an environment that is not conducive for your career, it is good you quit. But don't quit without proper planning. I think I'm on the right.
Yes, you are.
Now, let's move down to the title of your story. Successful career, luck or work? Let's talk about that.
Okay, so you see, I've gone through life at certain times, and then you talk to friends, people around you, and they'll tell you that you know, the reason why someone got something is because they were lucky. You know, they'll say, well, the guy was lucky, he got a job in Shell. The guy was lucky, he got a job in First Bank. You know, and I keep telling them that, look, so I'm not removing the fact that there is God's favor, you know, but the point is this: even if you have all the favor and you don't work it out, you're just going to be the unlucky person. You know, that's why you probably go to a church and maybe a seer or a prophet will tell you, you are not maximizing everything that you have, you know, the capability to become the next Dangote, but you are not maximizing it. It simply means that you are not actually working it out. So for me, luck is when preparation meets an opportunity. That is luck. So you consider that as luck. But nobody is going to employ someone who is not a first degree graduate as maybe a chief financial officer of an organization. Nobody's going to do that. Okay, you can't be so lucky that, you know, you studied medicine and straight from school you moved into being the chief financial officer of a business. You will have to have you have to have studied accounting or finance or something that is related.
Exactly.
Okay, so there are so many things that people attach to luck that are not. It takes work to actually have a successful career. Now, I try so hard not to say hard work, okay, because it is not always hard work. It is about being smart. about what you're doing. Gone are the days when hard work used to be, the in thing. So you get to the office 7 a.m. and you don't close until 7 p.m. And then you get home, you wake up in the middle of the night and you're still carrying your laptop. As far as I'm concerned, that's not smart work. And that does not necessarily mean that you're going to have a successful career. Okay, so if you want to really take a look at that, then you should probably consider some very hardworking guys, maybe around you at work. You see them doing the hard work every day, but there's no success. So it's about being smart. Yes. So let me give an instance. When I was the resource planning and reporting specialist in Etisalat back then. Now, my report spanned over about 4 different applications. So I have to pull report from 4 different applications and put into a singular report. I have a number of reports that I do on a daily basis. Now, if I wanted to be hardworking, what I would do is that I'll wake up in the morning, get to the office as early as 6 a.m. because the first report has to go out by 9. So get to work as early as 6 a.m. and then start working to get the first report out. And probably when I close in the evening at 5 p.m., I will continue to work for another 2 hours to get some more reports out. I didn't do that. It was tough because the reports are so voluminous. I mean, the huge volume of data that you have to work on. So what did I do? I went to study more on Microsoft Excel and how I can use macro recording to actually, do my report. So I now did some. So the thing is, for you to get to smart work, you need to do a bit of hard work. It will take a little while, before you get into the smart work, but you have to do some little hard work. So what I did was I went back to, the guys behind the scene who works on those who work on the templates for the report. I had a long, meeting with them. Now, this is how I want this report to appear. I want it in this format. I want, I want the fields this way and so on, so that, I could plug it into my macro. So I did macro recording, and, those reports that used to take me maybe 1 hour to put together, to clean up the data, to fix the data, in the templates and all of that. I just come in, spool the reports, put them in a template, click on macro, and in minutes, in seconds, I have my report. So now that for me was a plus, because before then, the 9 a.m. report doesn't get out until maybe 9:30, despite the fact that I get to the office as early as 7 a.m. Okay, it doesn't get out until about 9:30, and one of them is very critical. It actually goes to the CEO. Now, with macro, it was easy for me to get those reports out even before 9 o'clock. Now, what that does is that it gives my boss more confidence that, okay, well, this guy can do this job. So even when he has demands from the top management and they're asking him to do these reports, to add these reports, to do more on this, to expand this, it could come because he knows that, okay, well, somehow we'll get it out. We'll get the report out. So now, when the time came for me to, take up another role, I applied the same principle. So I did more work, more groundwork than people that have been in that department. Okay, so they've been there, they've been in sales, they understand everything, but they are not seeing it the way I saw it. So I came into their own space, learned everything that they've learned within a short period, and then saw differently how better can this be done? How, more effective can this be done? I did that, and that was, what gave me that role, of being a territory sales manager. Some people, came to me and said, Seun, you are very lucky. You moved to another department, got a higher role, and even to a location that you've always wanted. I said, no, I wasn't lucky.
Exactly.
I prepared.
You
so I now started showing them
what you
before the interview. Yeah, before the interview, I already had a PowerPoint presentation that, it's about 21 page presentation that I already prepared on different areas that I've seen in the sales department. I talked about reporting. I talked about stock management. I talked about the human resource management, everything, each slide for a different thing. So there is no way you're going to ask me anything about the sales department that I will not tell you. Despite the fact that I wasn't there. Because I asked questions, I put everything together on those slides. So I was prepared. So the interview was easy, quite easy, because people were probably preparing for things that they were used to, but I went out of that. So I wasn't just lucky. It was work. Now, a lot of other things happen in life. So people will say he studied maybe architecture. Now he's the essay to the president on power, and they begin to ask, where does power and architecture, where do they cross? But you don't know exactly what this person has done since he left school. Yes, it's not luck. When people can't explain something, they wrap it up in luck. They'll say he's lucky. There is nothing like luck. You don't get what you don't really deserve, except now. Well, I will use those words carefully because, like I said earlier, I don't want to remove the aspect of God's favor. But God needs to know that you have the capability to handle.
Hello? 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 Can you hear me? Hello? Hello?
Hello, are you there?
I'm still there. I'm still there.
Yeah, okay. I think it's the network.
Yes.
So you can't. You don't even get lucky with God. He will only give you what he knows that you can handle. So if you have not built up yourself, if you have not walked through it,
The network. Hello?
there's another case when I was in the call center and I wanted to move out of the call center. I've done 2 years in the call center, then I wanted to move. So I spoke to someone who is an older colleague. His level is also, higher than mine. I spoke to him. I said, I need to make a move. I've been here for about 2 years now. I'm tired. I want to get something. I want to do something else. And he asked me, he said, would you like to work in the workforce management department? I said, yes. He said, okay, there's a vacancy there now. They are going to put it up for application. Once they put it up for application, please apply. And then one thing that you need to know how to do very well is to use Microsoft Excel. Wow. I said, okay. So I put in for the application. I didn't wait to be called for interview. That's another mistake that people do. Okay, that people make. You put in for a job, and then you're waiting to be called before you start preparing. You don't do that. If you're really interested in working there or doing that job, then you start preparing from the moment you see the role. So I put in the application and I didn't wait. So when people close from work, when we close at the call center, then we used to close by 4 p.m. The boss doesn't leave until 5:30 for those who close for 5. So what I do is I stay back in the office. I, go online. That we had a portal then, in MTN that we use for training. That portal wasn't so popular because most people don't actually know that portal exists. So I'll go into that portal and start learning Microsoft Excel. I was doing it. I was just preparing for it. When the when the application scaled through and we were called for the first level of interview, it was Microsoft Excel test.
Wow. I
scored so high that my score actually more than double the next person to me. So, and when they wanted to call us for the second level interview, where we were meant to meet the GM, customer care there, he said, how come? How come you know so much about Microsoft Excel? I said, sir, I didn't know so much. I practiced, I walked through it. So the interview was more or less like a gist. It wasn't an interview because already I showed capabilities that I could do the job. The same thing happened when I wanted to move to sales, like that I described before. I prepared so much that when we finished the interview, 3 of us were meant to meet the director of sales. And when the list, got to him, the feedback that I got from those who were close to him was, what do you want me, in his words, what do you want me to discuss with these people now? You can see the score of this person is very high, so, it shows that this person is exceptional. So it wasn't luck. God could point you in the direction that you should go to get there, but He's not going to drop it on your lap. You will have to go through that direction and work it out. So for me, a successful career is not luck. You can only get so lucky. After a while, if your capabilities can't match the next level, you're not going there. Gone are those days in the civil service where you get promoted irrespective of what happens. You get promoted. I think some banks still have that kind of a structure. But in my own field, in my own industry, telecommunication, you don't get promoted until you show that you can do, you go into the next role.
Yeah.
In fact, you could be an assistant manager and the manager resigns. Ordinarily, you will expect that you will be the one to occupy that seat. And that role will be advertised for people to attend the interview. They attend the interview, and if you're not sharp enough, somebody else will come from another department to take up that manager role. So that's how it works. I don't believe in luck. You have to go through life. You have to go through some experiences that will shape up your career before you can get to a point and say, okay, well, I've had a successful career. Those who believe in luck, it can only keep you for so long.
Just a few minutes, please. Sorry about that. I need to attend to someone. So,
that's all right.
In other words, success is more of work. And then this time around, not just hard work, but smart work. Then you now prepare for the opportunity. That's a very beautiful one there. And I'm sure a lot of people will learn from this. Now, I need to go back a little and talk about education. You have experience, you go to school, and then you have a lot of experience in the labor market, even business-wise. Now, one thing is that looking at our educational system compared to what you see in the labor market, what advice can you give teenagers out there who are in the system, I mean in the educational system or about to?
Okay, so that's a very important question you asked, really. The truth is, the educational system that we have currently in Nigeria does not in any way match the reality in the market. Okay, there is a huge gap. I mean, the gap is so huge that a lot of people, that's why you see that a lot of people are in quote unemployable. So it's not like they are uneducated. They're just not employable. Okay, so you've gone through school, you've learned a lot in accounting. I studied accounting. I had an accounting background. You've learned a lot in accounting, and you know how it can be applied. You know what each account does. You can do balance sheets so well that even 0.5 kobo would not be amiss. But the question is, has that school also prepared you on the other things that are happening in the world of artificial intelligence, in the world of data analytics? So can you actually apply some programming to what you're doing, or is still going to be pencil and paper kind of balancing of accounts, where you start looking for, I remember back then, you have to learn with your right hand and your left hand to know which one is debit and credit. Okay. Nowadays, you don't have to do that. You just need to put in the figure in the right field, and it goes to either credit or debit, on the application. Okay, so when you get out of school and you are now asked to prepare a balance sheet, you're probably going to be looking for tons of documents where you're going to scan through and know which one is a sundry expense, which one is, So there is a huge gap. We can go on and on about it. Okay, you've been told in school that, okay, well, you studied agric economics, for instance, or maybe agriculture. You've been told in school that maize only grows between this month and those months. It takes about 4 months. You have to plant it at the first rain or maybe second rain, and then after some time you weed it. And you've been told that, but nobody told you about climate change.
Exactly.
You didn't experience it. Nobody really sat you down to teach you about climate change. That look, if rain ceases, like we had recently, for over 2 months, it didn't rain. So what are you supposed to do? What other methods can you apply, to grow that same maize and it will still, yield as much as it would under normal season? The schools don't teach us that. Okay, you go to school, you are taught on, maybe you studied medicine, and you know all of the human conditions and all of that, but nobody told you that right now you can actually use 3D printing to print maybe an ear for somebody who just lost one. Okay, so we're not matching it. It's so wide that there has to be some very practical steps taken either by the government or by the individuals who are interested in actually enhancing their own career. So for instance, what I would tell people is between that time that you are in school. Now, it's I won't go ahead and tell people these are the kind of courses you should study. These are the kind of professions you should go into. It all depends on what your interest is. But for me, if you are a Nigerian, you schooled in Nigeria, and you want to work in very good organization, what you need to do is simple. When you are done, is either during your school days or the moment you are done, ensure that you engage yourself. Somehow when I was the territory manager here in Akure, someone, I just met a young guy in church actually. So he came up to me and said, sir, I would like you to be my mentor. I've taken a look at you and all of that. And I said, okay, fine, no problem. Yeah, see me in the office. Let's discuss, the the possibilities and, the things that we need to do to actually get it off ground. So he came, and after so much talk, I discovered that this young man is actually very, very intelligent. Okay. So I told him, I said, look, this is what you're going to do. You're going to probably start doing some voluntary work, Unfortunately, the youth that we have these days, they don't want to do all of that. You're out of school, you want to get a job. You want to get a job that will pay you 100,000 and above, the first month. But have you thought about actually volunteering to work with someone for about maybe 6 months? I mean, you didn't die.
Hello? Hello? Network. Network.
School and your first job. You
All right.
The network tripped off, so I'm back now.
I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello? Hello?
Okay. The unfortunate part is that people don't actually go through that. So their first job, they're already having serious issues with their boss. The boss will start thinking, did this guy actually go to school? Or did this guy even, this certificate that he said he earned, did he actually earn it? But that's because you were not prepared. So there are some skills that you need to, for instance, you can't go into any organization right now, no matter where your level is, without knowing how to use basic Microsoft skills. Okay. So even if it's just Microsoft Word, some basic things in Excel, some basic things in PowerPoint presentation, even if you had studied Python and all those digital and
Yes.
analytics skills and all of that, you still need those things to put them up.
Exactly.
Okay. Now we are talking about Power BI. We are talking about some other analytical things that you can use. But it's not all organizations that actually use that, except the very big ones, that have huge data to work with, and they need to pull it from different sources. But for normal, medium-sized organizations and all of that, which are, the ones that are readily available for most people that are out of school, you need to learn how to do some things, before you get into the job thing proper. Because if you don't, you're going to get there and then you will have issues starting up. And the moment you have issues starting up, you might develop code feet somewhere along the line. And then you start thinking maybe you are not right for the job. Maybe you are not, and then before you know what's happening, depression could set in, and then you start having issues with your boss and so on. So there's a need for people to actually prepare themselves because the government is not really doing so much in that regard. And that's the truth. There should be some sort of transition between school and the work environment. I did my master's somewhere in one of the prestigious universities in Nigeria. And to be very honest with you, I could point to you that because I did my master's in 2009. So I've actually worked for about 5 years, before I went in for my master's. So I knew what was the thing, the how the work environment was like. I knew it already before I went into my master's. 90% of the lecturers coming into the class were training us on things that were in the books. Not so much of what is happening, in the business environment. Yeah, it was only one person, the person that took us on strategic marketing was, he had worked in a couple of organizations. So, and I think he was working in PZN or Cadre, I can't remember. So whenever he comes into the class, he will come with reality. What is happening? This is what the book says. This is what Peter Drucker said. This is what whatever who said. But this is exactly how it's happening in the business space. So it's easy for you to marry. I'm talking about master's degree. So not to talk of first degree, where most of the lecturers don't actually have so much of an idea about what is going on in the marketplace. So there has to be a gap. I mean, a bridge to cross between the school and also the workplace. And that bridge is either constructed by the government or is constructed by you if you really want to have a very good career.
Wow. Another one. In Nigeria, it's more or less like we have academicians teaching business people, and that sounds not working the way it should be. Now, you've already touched most of the areas I want to ask next. I actually want to talk about the digital skills and the future of work. And you've already touched a lot. But is there any other thing you want to add in that respect?
The network went off a bit.
I can see that.
Yeah, but I think I'm good now.
Yeah. Okay. Did you? Okay, I should repeat that aspect, right?
Yes.
Okay.
What
I'm trying to say is that the next question I want to ask, you've already touched a lot of it when we are discussing about education, and that is the future of work. I mean, digital skill, future of work. But is there any other thing you want to add in that aspect of having digital skill and then looking at the future of work compared to our educational system? Hello?
Okay, so there are quite a number of other things, really. And one of them is what the whole world is actually tending towards right now, which is entrepreneurship. Okay. A lot of the, 10 times, if the curriculum had been changed, actually, but the curriculum of our educational system is not geared towards that aspect of business life. Entrepreneurship is something that will eventually grow this country or grow this economy if we want it. Okay, because research has shown that the government cannot handle, majority of the corporations that are under them, power, water resources, and so many other things like that. Now, it then means that there has to be a very I don't want to use the word pragmatic, because it has to be done systematically, really, because it's something that has happened for a very long time. So you can't turn it around overnight. But somehow there has to be major, very major steps taken by the government, or most of the private schools that we have currently, because most of the schools that we have right now, the ones that are doing very okay, are either federal government owned or private owned. Okay, there has to be some very specific steps taken to integrate entrepreneurship into the curriculum. Now, you're not going to be successful as a doctor if you don't actually know how you can start up a clinic and ensure that that clinic grows into a hospital and then into a secondary hospital where you have good management, good equipment, wonderful service, and progress in terms of medicine itself. You can't be a fantastic agricultural either farmer or whatever it is that we're looking at in terms of agriculture if you don't actually know how to start from a small farm and then grow it into thousands of acres. So it takes not just management this time, it takes great entrepreneurial skills to develop those things. So if we're looking at corporations that will turn things around, that will make the economy grow and so on, we need to go to that level. Now, a lot of times, unfortunately, or let me say fortunately, our youths are actually learning a lot on the internet right now. You learn how to market your product. So if you do buy and sell, buying and selling, for instance, you learn how to market your product, how to put them on Facebook or put them on Instagram and so on. So we're actually learning from those things. But how do you think it will have been if they were taught those things and how to grow their business while they were in school? It would be a smooth transition for them. So you don't have to get out of school and you're looking for a job in a bank. If you're not working in a bank, you're not working in a telco, you're not working in oil and gas, there's no other place to work except you are in the government. Maybe you are a politician or something, But other sectors have been neglected, including agriculture. Okay, a lot of people want to go into agriculture, but they are scared. Even though you've gone to the Federal University to study agri science or agri economics or whatever, you're still scared. You don't want to go into it. You just want a job somewhere that is secure. And that's because you were not taught on how you can actually build from the scratch. People are looking, youths are looking for 100,000, 500,000 to start a business. You want to do buying and selling, just buying from Oyinbo market and selling in Yaba, for instance. And you're looking for 200,000 naira to start a business. But there's something that is called drop shipping that you can actually start with. You can be marketing for someone else, add a little margin on whatever the person is selling, market for him, he does the delivery, and then you just get paid. There are so many things that people can do, but the system didn't teach us those things. So we're just picking them up sparingly. People just pick up from friends, from mentors here and there. For instance, I have a lady in Akure here. I went to so she works as a receptionist or like a customer service person in a laundry. So I went to do dry cleaning there one day. I brought in my clothes, and then the way she attended to me was quite impressive. So I now asked, I said, do you have a customer service background? She said, no. I said, okay, so have you worked somewhere else before? She said, no. I was really astonished, like, how come you know all of this? You know how to say please, thank you, may I, all those things, all those phrases that you use in normal customer service environment. Yeah, well, I just picked them up. Now, that was the trait that I saw in her. And I told her, I said, you need to start your own dry cleaning service. And if you do that, it will take you to places. She said, okay, well, she will try. So we started. About a year after, she told me, well, she wanted to get a job, blah, 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 and all of that. She was serving, actually. So she was serving at that dry cleaning service during her youth service days. And we started just 1 year down the line. I insisted that she must start something. So she told me, for me to start a dry cleaning business, I need very huge amount of money. I said, like how much? She said nothing less than about 1 point something million, because she will need to get washing machine, she needs to get a generator, she needs to get a dryer, she needs to get the ironing stuff. She counted everything. I said, okay, you know what? Give me projections, budget for a high-end dry cleaning service. Give me one for a medium-end dry cleaning service, and give me one for a low-end dry cleaning service. By the time she brought the one for low-end, it came to about 200 and something thousand. Wow. So she would just need to do a small table for ironing. She would buy the normal iron, not the industrial one. She would buy maybe just about 5 kg of washing machine, and all of that. And we're able to do. We started it. The business has been 1 year now. Currently, the asset of that business is well over 2 million naira. Wow. Okay. Now, if she didn't have anyone to put her through that, she'll probably have used that money on something else. And then she'll still probably be looking for a job till now, But we started bit by bit, we put it together, and now that business is worth well over 2 million naira. Okay. So that's the part that needs to be integrated into the educational system. How to start small, how to grow things, opportunities that are bound. They are everywhere. The opportunities are just everywhere. I have a case of someone who started her, restaurant business with 3,500 naira. Right now, that restaurant is worth over 1 million naira in terms of assets. So it's just about knowing how to nurture it from the beginning till it grows. We're not taught that part.
That is huge. When I say huge, I mean huge. And I know someone will learn a lot from this and do something for him or herself. Now, before we round it up, what last advice, like a remark, general, you can give teenagers, youths out there to start working towards building their future, building a successful career, either through getting a job or entrepreneurship or the likes? Hello?
Okay, so the first thing I would say, the first advice that I would give is learn all the way. Okay? Don't ever stop learning. There are different times that you're going to come across a couple of things in your life. Don't ever look away from them, because you don't even know what you're going to use when you get to the next level. You don't know the skills that will be required of you. You don't know the kind of attitude. Because work comes with attitude. If you don't have the right attitude to work, you can't grow. It will just be a flash in the pan. So there has to be the right attitude. You need to pick up everything that you can along the way. Okay, the first job that I got, I didn't think I was going to need the skills that I acquired then. Some other time, later time in my life, some people just commonize things. Like, no, I can't do that. I don't think I will ever need this kind of thing in my life. But you don't know. Okay, so if you live with someone who knows how to cook well, okay, this person just likes to cook and she knows how to cook well. Be going into the kitchen with her, learn how to cook well, because you don't know. You might find an opportunity later in life to actually own a restaurant. So if you don't have those skills, how are you going to apply it? Are you going to go back to school and say, okay, well, I want to go and study, culinary or whatever it is? So you have to pick them along the way. Though in those days, when I got my first job, there wasn't so much about telephone etiquette because GSM was relatively new. Okay. So there wasn't so much about telephone etiquette, and all of that. But I learned it somehow. So the first interview that I had was actually on the telephone. So I was called, and the way I responded, using the appropriate phrases and all of that over the telephone gave me an edge. It's simply because somewhere along the line, I learned how to answer telephone properly. Okay, some people, you call them, and when they pick up the phone, the first thing they say is, "Who be this?" That's a very wrong, phrase to use. There has to be that hello word is a standard. Hello, that's how you respond to a telephone, to a telephone call. You don't say, "Who be this?" Or you pick up the phone and then you say, "Yeah." You don't do that. So there are basic things that you need to learn in life, and you need to pick them up as you go. So you need to learn all the way. That's the first thing. Don't ever commonize anything that happens around you. Learn from it. Pick it up. How
All right.
Sorry, the network went off again. So keeping your connections doesn't mean keeping unnecessary friends. Okay? Keep your professional connections, because you don't know when and where you're going to need them. Okay? Don't if you have a LinkedIn account, for instance, ensure that you go there as often as you can. Don't neglect it for Facebook. Okay? Or don't neglect Facebook for Instagram, or wherever you have your connections. Ensure that you keep them around you, and be very careful what you share on the internet. Okay, I've said that a number of times to people. Be very, very careful what you share on the internet, because the internet never forgets. To a career, and you actually want to work in very reliable organizations, they check out your internet footprint. Okay, your social media footprint. They check out your Facebook page. They check out your Instagram page, and Twitter, and so many. In fact, right now, if you go into some embassies, I think the UK and the US embassy right now, they ask for your handles.
Yeah.
because they want to know if you're the kind of person they want in their country. Okay, so you need to be very wary of those things. Learn all the way, keep your connections, watch your footprints on the internet. That's for people that are just trying to get into a career. But if you're already there, those lessons are for you to keep your connections, learn all the way. Then look before you leap. This is for those who are already in a career. Okay, you look before you leap. Now, a lot of times you want to change your job, and then somebody just gives you maybe a role somewhere and tells you, can you join my organization? We're looking for so, 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 and so. And you say, fine. And you join without taking a very good look at that organization. That might just be the end of your career. So don't jump at every seemingly good opportunity. Research it properly before you jump into it. If you are just starting your career and you don't really have so much to lose, maybe, but not when you have built your career for up to 5 years upward, and then you just want to make a move. You have to be very, very careful the kind of move you make. Okay, wow. So look before you leap. Then, like I've shared earlier, always prepare for the next level. When you get into a place, you start preparing for the next level, because you don't even know when that next level is actually going to pop up. Okay, then play politics with sense. If you're already in the career, play politics with sense, because just like the Nigerian politics, somebody who is in APC today can cross into another party tomorrow, maybe APC to PDP or whatever they call the parties. So whoever you are following in an organization, you can't separate where people work. You can't separate politics from it. So people will always have different camps. If you're in a camp, be very, very careful, because you don't even know when those people that you are following in that camp will cross camps, and then you'll be left alone. Okay, then one thing that I always say, loyalty is very important in any organization. You have to be loyal to your boss, and that loyalty is, you can't mix it. You can't mix it with something else. Okay, you can't say, okay, well, I'm loyal up to a point. It has to be total. If it goes down, you are going down. Okay, if you are not that kind of person who is loyal to your boss, it will get to a point, people around you will notice that, you are not always loyal. So nobody wants to work with you. Because except your boss is a crook. And in that situation, what I would say is find an exit. But if your boss is not a crook, if he's doing the job, you have to do everything you can to ensure that you are loyal to him. Okay, because you can be rewarded for that later on in life. Then when you land a new job, don't be too quick to blend in, inverted commas. You have to watch the ground, watch it properly, know where you want to put your head. Because if you make a wrong move, you can actually start digging your own exit from the very first day that you get into that organization.
Wow.
Okay. And always, I will not say that, enough, because I'll keep saying it. Always learn along the way. It's very important.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Those experiences you share, those knowledge is powerful. Meanwhile, we are always going to need you at Era Africa. Okay? What you shared today, I've already signified. We need people like you to keep educating and keep impacting on all those teenagers. But for now, we really appreciate your time. And maybe I should say bye-bye for now.
Thank you very much for bringing me in. And it's been a very wonderful time with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.